Welcome, everyone. We are here with Charlene Bucha. She retired from the USDA not too long ago. How long ago was it, Charlene?
The end of June of 2020.
End
So
of June. Nice. And you have freedom. How does that feel?
it feels wonderful. It was
I bet.
I, it was a fabulous career, but that career is done, and yeah, it's on to other things now.
Good. So tell us your retiring story, your retirement story overall, if you would, please.
Um, so throughout my career, which was officially between seasonal and permanent time, was over 36 years. I did attend some retirement trainings. I think two or three of them, throughout my career, because they recommend, even back when I came in, that you should do something early, mid, and then late career. And so I wasn't totally uneducated, but not something that was high on my radar, because you think retirement's way far into the future. And it actually gets here much more quickly than you think. Um, so, I
We
had
need to emphasize that point right there. It gets here much quicker than people think. It may
it,
seem
it
like it's a long ways off, but it actually comes pretty quickly. Okay, sorry.
It does come very quickly. So, I knew the basics of, make sure you keep all your paperwork, which during my career transitioned from carrying around these hard copy binders of, SF-52s and 50s or whatever they're called. And, all that paperwork you accumulate and you move throughout your career, and each forest gives you a folder, and they get thicker and thicker and heavier and heavier. And then in the middle of all that, we switched to EOPF. And so then you're supposed to go through EOPF and check and make sure all your paperwork's there. And, we're diligent to, some of people are more diligent than others or know what to look for. So I knew the basics, but I didn't have a lot of, I guess, practical application of what does it all mean? How do you put it all together?
And that
And
makes sense though, because you've never retired before, right?
exactly,
This is
exactly.
brand new to you.
So um, it really came to light. I think it was about 2012. I got a certified copy of my federal history,
Good.
and I knew I had paid a deposit for some seasonal time, but it wasn't showing up. So
Mm.
I luckily found my records, went to, at that time called HR in Albuquerque and said, hey, this isn't showing up. How do we fix that? Gave them all my information, sent them copies. They assured me it was fixed. So then again in 2016, I requested a copy of my certified federal, service. It's not showing up again. So I had all the emails, everything. I sent it to HR. They assured me it was fixed, got it all under control. Then I believe it was in 2018, I went to another, knowing that 2020 was coming up, I went to another retirement training. And one of the things that is emphasized is, get that copy of your certified federal service. So I contacted HR, asked for that again, and I'll be darned, my deposit is still not showing up.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, it wasn't in my EOPF, and so I worked with HR, and again provided them all the previous documentation. They assured me it was fixed. Guess what? In 2019, I yet again asked for another copy, knowing I was a year out from retirement, and it wasn't there again.
Wow.
Now, when I finally signed up with my retirement, submitted my 52 for retirement in January of 2020 with the intention of retiring in April of 2020, it didn't show up again. And so I worked with that individual. We finally got it corrected,
Was that an
obviously, and it's
individual from HR or was that
from
an it
HR.
was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was from HR. So we finally got that resolved. Got it in my EOPF, showed up on my certified summary. And and you read your certified federal summary and you're like, yeah, the dates look like, I didn't go through it with a fine tooth comb, but cursory glance, everything looks okay. And then, of course, the pandemic happens. I decided to postpone my retirement till June. But in the meantime, I had a friend who retired in December. And in May, we were chatting to see how things were going. And she said, I just got notified by HR that my annuity is not going to be what I expected because I had a break in federal service and I took a refund of my retirement deductions during my break. And she goes, that happened in my 20s. I didn't even remember it.
Oh,
Um, so something that HR or her should have caught before retirement, but you really don't know what it is you're looking for. So then that caused me to go back through my summary because I had a break in service also, and to go to HR and say, okay, I had this break in service. Can you provide me the documentation that shows that I did or did not take that retirement or refund of my retirement deductions? So it's things like that. And my service history is not all that complicated. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have had seasonal time or breaks in service or under special provisions. And so the one thing I would really say is educate yourself early and often throughout your career. It's probably more than one thing. Look out for yourself. The
yes.
folks in HR mean well, but sometimes you get someone who's highly experienced, but they're trying to do too many jobs. They're overworked just like the rest of the federal um, employees. Follow up. Don't be afraid to follow up and say, hey, this isn't showing up in my record. How do we fix that? And be persistent. Really know what your federal service was and review those documents. And know that it's hard to figure out what questions do you ask, but especially around your retirement, know about your thrift savings plan, know about your retirement deductions, and know what your federal history is. Because if you wait, it takes a while to get those things fixed with
Yeah.
HR
Yeah, I think
or
you
OPM.
yeah, both of them really, because they
Yeah.
obviously have somewhat of different records. But I think you hit it on the head that you don't know what questions to ask. You don't know you don't know what to look for because again, you've never done this before, and that makes it really really hard to find those things that should be there but you don't realize aren't, or are there but you don't know maybe they should be different than what they are. This is the first time you're really seeing this and have nothing to compare it off of. So how would you recommend someone find out what those questions are that they don't know to ask?
Again, educate yourself. There are a lot of call HR in the retirement benefit and ask them. There's pamphlets, there's booklets they can send you. Go to training, you know, through your company, other companies. Talk to people who have gone to training. Talk to people who have retired and say,
Good.
hey, what poked you in the eye? What caught you up? What took you by surprise? Ask those questions. Don't be afraid to talk to people and go to training early and often,
Good.
um, because things change
Yeah.
throughout your career.
Yeah, they do. Now, you in a previous conversation mentioned that you have been to two of the classes that I've done. You went to two
Yep.
of them, and that was within what time frame? How, before you retired, what was that? Like a year and a half or so?
So about 2 years before I retired, and then about it ended up being about 7 months
7
before
months. Good.
retirement.
Then
Um,
why twice? What
why? Right,
wasn't I
because
good enough the first time? No, I'm just kidding. What?
I'm
Yeah,
a
but
slow
why
learner.
twice?
You know, I'm a twice because there is so much information. It's a lot to absorb. It's a lot to follow up on, and I'm a planner by nature, so I went twice to see what did I miss the first time. What wasn't I listening to? What didn't I interpret correctly? What did I forget to do on my to-do list from 2 years ago? And then what changed? Because
Sure.
just in that 2 year time, things with TSP changed. You know, so things change. So I think to really prepare yourself, and depending on how detail oriented you are, but if you really want to prepare yourself and not have surprises and make it go as smoothly as you can from your end, you don't have any control over HR or OPM. Um, and, honestly, with HR, you might get someone who's really experienced. You might get someone who's not so experienced. You might get someone who has great customer service or someone who, maybe is not as open and available as someone else. And so, and depending on workloads, it could take you a while to sort through things and to really understand so you get it right. Because once your paperwork isn't at OPM, it's really hard to change anything.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get a hold of anybody in OPM.
Yeah, yeah, really hard. But I think you made another statement earlier that was, I think, really important, that you are in charge of your retirement. It's not OPM and it's not HR, and you are the one accountable to make sure that it is right, and you cannot rely on them to get it right. Now, will they be right a lot of the time? Probably, but like you said, you had a fairly straightforward retirement, not too much in there that threw things off. But the one thing that could get thrown off was thrown off. But you are the one who is accountable, or who are accountable for it, and you've got to nail it down and can't rely just on them to make sure that it's done.
Correct. Look out for yourself. You're number one. Look out for yourself so that the paperwork goes in correctly, so you get credit for the time that you've been employed and served in
Yeah.
the federal government.
Now you after the workshop we did, you did get the report from the advisors that we work with in your area there. Tell me about that experience, about getting the report, what you learned from that report, the questions that you asked and got answered, basically.
Oh, the report gave me a lot of information because I had tried before to do the federal benefits report that you get out of HR, but until HR actually puts your information in, it's really a swag in the dark.
Sure.
Um, so, things that might not hit home, really getting that report helped me understand the benefits that I'm going to get. I'm still waiting for my finalized report from OPM. Um, but it gave me that knowledge to feel good about, yep, this is what my pension annuity is going to look like. I'm eligible for the supplement, so that's what that's likely going to look like. And then what does the future look like with Social Security, and then any investments through TSP or private investments. So it kind of put that whole picture together of here's what my income will look like post career. And put into perspective too, to make, ask questions about taxes and, you
Good.
know, health insurance, life insurance, those kinds of things.
Excellent. Good, good. So really getting the whole picture rather than the snapshot that maybe OPM or HR gives you, but you get the whole, the more full of your retirement rather than
Right.
just the day that you retire.
Correct. what's it look like projected out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years?
Wow,
Yeah.
good. You're going to live a long time, I can tell, if it's projected out that far. I like that, Charlene. Well done.
I'm
Whatever
looking
pills you're
forward to
taking,
it.
whatever pills you're taking, let me know what these are afterwards. Maybe we can go into business and start selling them. I don't know.
Right. Goodness. Yeah. That side, get that passive income coming in, right?
That's right. That's right. Very good. Yeah. Well, thank you. One last question I have for you before we're done here is, what advice would you have for those who are looking to retire? Either, I guess you could take it for those from the perspective of those who are just about to retire, or those who may be further out and thinking, like you said, I don't need to think about retirement. What advice do you have for them?
Oh my goodness. Like I said, educate yourself, look out for yourself. You know, don't be afraid to call HR and say, I want my certified summary, or ask questions about what you don't understand. And then reach out to the resources that are, companies like yours that are out there. OPM, there is information out there. Just educate yourself so you can set yourself up well for what comes next.
Great.
You know,
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Thank you so very much for sharing your experience in retiring from the federal government. This is an excellent this is I think this is an excellent way for others who are thinking about retirement to say, "Oh, I had never thought of that," or, maybe I was scared to really dive in, but I need to because it's all on me. So, I think this has been very helpful. Thank you very much, Charlene.
you're welcome, Kevin. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
You bet.